morning, everyone. Today we will discuss cellular respiration. So, cellular respiration is that process that your body uses to harness energy from the food that you eat. Has anybody ever wondered what it takes your body to be able to capture the energy that you eat? You put that food in your mouth and it goes straight down. After sometimes it passes down into the bathroom, your toilet. What is involved? What exactly get into your body? So can someone tell me, why do we even eat? Why do we eat? So that we can do our activity of daily living, so that you can walk, so that I'll be able to talk to you, so that you can come to class, so that your brain will have that energy to be able to process your studies. So that's one of the reasons that you eat. Some of those reasons that you eat. All right. So what's cellular respiration? Cellular respiration is a process that involves the breakdown of food particles, glucose particularly in this case, into its subparticles. In that process, ATP is produced. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is the energy currency of the cell. So there are a million of cellular processes in the body that goes on. So the energy currency is ATP. ATP is used for most steps and all of those metabolic processes. So today's topic is on, we're going to break down those processes that are involved in the cells extracting energy from glucose. All right. So I'm going to write down the formula of glycolysis. It involves the breakdown of glucose. Like I said, glucose is 6,6H12O6, and this process utilizes oxygen, just like your regular combustion, to produce carbon dioxide, to produce CO2 and water. Now, in that process, like I said, energy is being extracted. So you have ATP, adenosine triphosphate, being extracted. I'll try to break this down. So we start with glucose, and we end with CO2, which is carbon dioxide, and water. So we're trying to see what happens in between this. Well, this is just one carbon molecule, and this is a 6 carbon molecule. Let me write it as 6 carbon molecule. Now, this process happens in the mitochondria of the cell. The mitochondria, although a part of it happens outside the mitochondria, within the cytosol, but the majority part happens within the mitochondria. So the process the cellular respiration involves 4 basic steps. The first one is glycolysis. Try that with another one. Glycolysis. The second one is called the Krebs cycle. Before the Krebs cycle, there is an intermediate step called pyruvate oxidation. So let me write that. Pyruvate oxidation. Pyruvate oxidation. Pyruvate oxidation. Now, after pyruvate oxidation is your Krebs cycle. And then the final step is called the electron transport chain, the ETC, electron transport chain. So, first step, glycolysis, like I said, is that primitive step. You find glycolysis even in prokaryotes. What are prokaryotes? Anybody remind us what prokaryotes are? Yeah, those are the primitive cells. Eukaryotes are cells with membrane-bounded nucleus. Prokaryotic cells do not have membrane-bounded nucleus. Cells like cells of bacteria, archaeas. We talked about those ones. They are cells without a seal on their genetic material. So they just have area called nucleus. But in eukaryotes, they have dedicated area. They have membrane bounding their organelles. So in this case, in prokaryotes, majority of them who don't even have mitochondria, they just go through glycolysis. Glycolysis produces little energy. In fact, it go through a different kind of phosphorylation. Phosphorylation is the addition of phosphorus. I'm going to get into that just in a minute. So, glycolysis, pyruvate oxidation, Krebs cycle, this process is anaerobic. So can anybody tell me this type of respiration? Have you heard of that in high school? This type of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration does not involve oxygen. Involves oxygen. But anaerobic respiration does not involve oxygen. Now you're going to see that in a minute, that glycolysis do not involve oxygen. It can just proceed by itself. And yet it produces ATP. So it uses, we're going to talk about those processes, fermentation and all forms of anaerobic processes, like form of anaerobic processes that that are involved. But these steps involve oxygen. We're going to get into that in a minute. So what happens in glycolysis? Just like the name sounds, glucose is splitted into two molecules of pyruvate. So let me do that. Pyruvate. And then another pyruvate. This is a 3-carbon molecule. A 3-carbon molecule. Pyruvate. And look at this name, it's just after this. Oxidation of pyruvate. So you already know that these steps involve oxygen. Only this step does not involve oxygen, occur outside the mitochondria. So pyruvate oxidation, we use acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl CoA. Acetyl CoA. And acetyl CoA, we then get into a circle that is called the Krebs cycle. In the Krebs cycle, citric acid, or you call it citrate, is converted, is broken down to a molecule, a 4-carbon molecule called oxaloacetate. So it's oxaloacetate that combines with acetyl CoA to yield citrate, to yield the citric acid. And this is what goes through the circle to form the oxaloacetate. In that cycle, carbon dioxide, 2 molecules of carbon dioxide is produced. So you're going to have CO2 being produced. And this is not the final step. The major step, the one that produces the most energy, is the electron transport chain. The electron transport chain uses some of the molecules you see here, NAD plus, FAD plus, they are converted, they are coenzymes. They are converted along the line into NAD plus is converted to NADH. FAD plus is converted to FADH. Through a process called hydrogenation, like addition of hydrogen. And actually what the cell does is go through multiple sequence of oxidation reduction. So electron is being accepted by a molecule, the other one loses the electron. So electron is what is being transferred from one molecule to the next and to the next. At the end of the day, the electrons are carried in this high energy electron carrier. And then at the end of the day, they come down to this 8 electron transport chain. The electron transport chain is what now extract all the proton from the hydrogen that comes down, and that is used to produce ATP. So we call this process We call it oxidative phosphorylation. Phosphorylation is just addition of phosphate to ADP. So ATP is essentially conversion of ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate, into ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So this is 2-phosphate, this is 1-phosphate. So you have that series of conversion, ADP get phosphorylated to become ATP, ADP get this phosphorylated to become ATP. So when we consume that energy, we take away the phosphate. One of the phosphate is broken down, and you find you end up with ADP. So when I say phosphorylation here, so basically phosphorylation, I mean the addition of phosphate to ADP. The production of ATP here is through a process called substrate level phosphorylation. So there is no machinery involved, none of those processes we're going to talk about here involved. Just ATP, phosphate is directly added to ADP. Alright, so let's get into all of that. Now, if you look at my chart here, you will see a summary of these steps. 2 ATPs produced here, 2 ATPs produced here because there are 2 wings here. One wing here, one wing here. So the other wing is going this way. I just stopped this. I didn't put the other circle here. So 2 ATP here, 2 ATP here. And we have the most ATP being produced here, about 32 ATP. In most eukaryotes, you only have 30 ATP being produced in these steps. I'm going to get into that. So ATP is being produced here. And like I said, NAD plus is converted to NADH. You notice, you understand that there's an extra proton there, and hydrogen is just one single electron and proton. So when that get added, you find you have an extra proton, and that's what is being extracted here at the electron transport chain. So let's look at this. Glucose is converted to pyruvate, and 2 ATP is produced. Like I said, 2 NADH is produced along the line. That 2 NADH will be converted to 5 ATP in the electron transport chain. In pyruvate oxidation, 2 NADH is also produced. So 2 NADH, 2 NADH, and that gets into 5 ATP. And in citric acid cycle, 2 ATP is produced, 6 NADH is produced, 3 in this wing and 3 in the other wing, and 1 FADH for each wing of citric acid cycle. So you end up having 6 NADH and 2 FADH within the citric acid cycle. Alright, so at the end of the day, all of these high energy, electron, these coenzymes end up going into the electron transport chain to produce ATP. The process involved is called chemiosmosis. It literally works like a rotary, where the photons are separated from the electron, and all of those photons are pumped into the intermembrane space. And at the end of the day, when you have a whole heap of proton, it falls just by, but for the fact that you have a lot of them on one side of the membrane to the other, compared to the other side, it goes through a channel. As it goes through that channel, it rolls an enzyme called ATPase, and along the line, as that happens, ATP is being produced. I don't know if I make myself clear. Anybody have any question at this point? Okay. So, in the absence of no question, I would like to summarize. Cellular respiration is a process that our body is used to produce ATP. ATP is the energy currency of the cell. The process involves 4 major steps: glycolysis, pyruvate oxidation, the Krebs cycle. Krebs is the guy that named the citric acid cycle. And he's the one that discovered it. So you can call it the citric acid cycle, the Krebs cycle. And finally the electron transport chain. And like I said, the most efficient steps is the electron transport chain because it involves a process called chemiosmosis. And glycolysis occurs within the cytoplasm. The remaining part of the steps occur within the mitochondria. The first one occurs within the mitochondrial membrane. The citric acid occurs within the matrix of the mitochondria, and the electron transport chain occurs within the cristae, that's the interior part of the mitochondria. And this is it. At the end of the day, you have a total of about 32 to 36 ATP being produced, depending on the organism that is involved. This is how you get your energy. Thank you for listening.